The Story of St. Nicholas by Mildred Luckhardt, Chapter 10. Nicholas and the Golden Gifts. Although he made friends near and far, Father Nicholas never forgot his old friends. One morning, just as winter began, his ship made port in Myra. He was glad he had reached home without having to winter over in another harbor. Many things were waiting for his attention. There was much to be done in the cathedral. There was so much work that months flew by before he had time to go see his friends in Padua. Many years had passed since the day he had carried Anya's belongings up to Thaddeus's house, yet he still remembered how worried she had been about the dowries for the girls. As he thought about it one day, he realized with a start that Thecla was more than old enough to marry. Is a marriage arranged for her, he wondered? He decided he must go soon to Padua to find out how the family was faring. Nicholas had not even seen Marcus the last few times the donkey train had come through because he had been busy in the cathedral. Then one windy March evening, the donkey train jingled to a stop at the gate. Marcus could not stay to visit, but he had left a letter from Anya. Alone in his study, Nicholas read it. Anya's writing was not good, but he could make out what she said. A wealthy young man from Greece wanted to marry Thecla. His ship had moored in Padua all winter, but he would leave soon. Thecla loved him. He could not wed because she had no dowry, so the young man would have to sail away without her. Thecla talks of begging in the streets, Anya wrote, to earn money to help her father and sisters. Nicholas jumped up, knocking over the ink jar. He didn't even notice it. Thecla begging? Never. He hurried around, trying to make a plan, while he tossed golden coins into the leather bag. Thecla will have her dowry tonight, he murmured as he went to the stable where Northstar slept. Northstar nuzzled Nicholas's neck and whinnied. Shh! Nicholas patted the horse and led him quietly from the table. We mustn't make a sound when we reach Thaddeus's house, Nicholas whispered. Before long, they were passing through the sleeping city and onto the road toward Padua. Myriads of stars shone over shadowy villages as Northstar galloped on mile after mile. While they dashed along the open road where the sea met sandy beaches, Nicholas sang. But when at last they reached Padua, they went quickly so as to awaken no one. A strong wind whistled from the bay, otherwise all was still. While they climbed the steep road toward Thaddeus's house, Nicholas wondered how he should leave the dowry so it would be found in the morning. The nearer he drew, the more puzzled he became. He could not leave his golden gift outside and run off, but he did not wish to be seen or heard. Northstar waited in the shadow of a tall pine, while Nicholas tiptoed with his bag of gold toward the dark old house. One light flickered through a half-closed shutter. He edged closer. Inside the house he could see the nobleman, a sad, worried look on his face, wondering perhaps how he could get a dowry for Thecla. Nicholas rushed forward, tripped over a stick, and bumped into a nut tree. He held his breath and stood in the shadows of the tree, motionless. Thaddeus had not heard. Nicholas then stepped quietly to the window, slipped the sack into the room, and ran back to his horse. Away he and Northstar sped with the March wind. They passed through Padua before anyone awoke. As Northstar galloped home, Nicholas laughed aloud, thinking how surprised Thecla would be, how glad they would all be. Would Anya guess who had brought the gift? 2 weeks later, the donkey train arrived once more in Myra from Padua. Marcus was bursting with good news. Not only did Father Nicholas and the family who kept house for him hear it, but Marcus talked so loud that passers-by stopped at the bishop's gate to listen and be glad. Marcus waved his arms in excitement as he talked. Thecla has a dowry. Her father found a bag of gold in the house. Nobody knows who gave it. It's a mystery, but everybody is happy. He was so carried away with Thecla's good fortune that he started off before he remembered to give Father Nicholas a letter from Thecla. He had to hurry back with it. Everybody around wanted to hear what was in the letter. So Father Nicholas read parts of it out loud while the listeners smiled and nodded to each other. It bubbled with joy about the mysterious dowry and went on to explain that the wedding would be held the next month at her father's house. After that, she and her husband would sail to his homeland. The letter ended, Father Nicholas, nobody can guess who gave me the dowry. I keep thanking God for it, for I am sure he put it into someone's heart to be so kind. I'm the happiest person. Please come to my wedding next month and give us your blessing. So one sunny day, Bishop Nicholas rode to Thecla's wedding. Along the Padua road, he met a singing group of wedding guests dressed in their gayest clothes. They followed a farmer who played a long horn, while children decked with flowers danced beside them, clapping their hands. So many people flocked to the wedding that a number of guests waited reverently outside the nobleman's house during the ceremony. When Father Nicholas and the bridal couple came out, he prayed for a blessing on everyone there. Then there was a great feast for everyone. After Thecla sailed with her husband to her new home in the land of Greece, Bishop Nicholas saw Thaddeus's family quite often. Nicholas was now spending more time visiting the shepherd tribes in the mountain meadows beyond Padua. Sometimes, if Anya wanted to send him a message, she would give it to shepherd children who stopped at the house for a drink of water or some fruit before going farther up the mountain roads. When Nicholas visited Elena and Carita, they never tired of talking about their sister Thecla's dowry and always said, "We wish we could find the person who gave it. We wish we could solve the mystery." Nicholas just said, and listened carefully for anything they might say that would show whether either of them hoped to marry soon. The next summer, Nicholas had to go on another sea voyage for the church. Before leaving, he visited the shepherd tribes, comforting the sick, christening the babies, and telling the children Bible stories. Sometimes, if a family needed them, he left golden coins where children would find them later. The day before sailing, he was walking through a pasture a few miles beyond Padua with some shepherd children and their goats. One of the little girls said suddenly, "I'm sorry for the Lady Elena. A young man from Italy wants to marry her. One day I saw them singing together to a bird perched high in a tree." Her father watched. He was sad. "Anya says she cannot marry the young man because she has no dowry. Elena is very sad now." Nicholas soon bade goodbye to the children and rode down the mountain path, careful not to be seen. He rested by a pool near a waterfall until evening came. "North Star," he said, "it is well that we heard about Elena before I sailed, and fortunate there is gold enough for her dowry in the bag we have with us. They'll never guess who gave it. When it is found in the morning, I shall be sailing out to sea." When the purple evening shadows softly settled onto the mountains, Nicholas rode nearer to Thaddeus's house. After dark, he went to the open window to which he had gone before, and again found it open. He left the dowry without a sound and sped off. Even after boarding his ship, he still smiled to think how surprised and glad Elena would be. It was many months before he visited the big old house once more. Then Carita limped to the door to greet him and poured out the delightful tale of Elena's wedding and of the mysterious dowry. She told him, "We could not even let you know about it because you were away. We cannot guess who left it. But we want to catch him and thank him." "Indeed we do," her father agreed. "I wonder if I shall have a dowry," Carita said wistfully. "But maybe nobody will want to marry me." Thaddeus and Nicholas laughed, but Nicholas thought her father looked at her very thoughtfully. She was frail and shy and would need a very kind and strong husband. Later, while riding to Myra, Nicholas thought how homesick Carita would be if she married and left her father and her old home. She loved Padua and its people. Often she invited children from the town to play in her father's meadows and orchards and taught them games and happy songs. Everyone in Padua loved her. That winter began with unusual cold and even snow. Bishop Nicholas and his helpers worked day and night to provide poor families with warm clothing, food, and fuel, for they were not ready for such weather. Whenever he went to buy warm things from the weaver and his wife, they always put something extra into the sack. Time and time again, he bought toys from the old toy maker. One December evening, snow flurried over the Myra marketplace, while Father Nicholas was buying baskets of bread for his helpers to take to the poor. Bells jingled. The donkey train from Padua trotted in. When Marcus, the driver, saw the bishop, he sprang from his donkey and ran to tell his news. A very good man wants to marry the nobleman's daughter, Carita. He will repair her father's house and stock the pastures with flocks once more. All of Padua will benefit from such a marriage." Marcus stopped short, somewhat abashed by the way he had blurted out his message to so important a person in a public place. He dug his toe into the snow, eager to tell the rest, but not knowing how. Father Nicholas helped him out, patting his shoulder and sharing a piece of bread with him. "I know, Marcus, you are worried because there's no dowry for Carita, and Anya is worried too, but what can we do? No one seems to know who gave the dowries to the other daughters." Marcus busied himself with his donkeys as Nicholas mounted North Star slowly. He did not want to seem too eager to get away. He was just riding off when Marcus called, I almost forgot. Anya told me to tell you that they have a new puppy. It barks at everyone who comes. Thought Nicholas. A barking puppy. It will be hard to leave a gift without being caught, but I must try. Soon he had the bag of gold for Karita's dowry, and North Star was carrying him once more toward Patara. Rooftops lay white under snowy blankets. Snowflakes touched Father Nicholas's beard with white. The horses' hooves scarcely sounded on the snowy road that stretched for mile after mile. As North Star climbed the hill toward Thaddeus's house, Nicholas thought of the first Christmas. Maybe on such a night as this, shepherds, watching their flocks near Bethlehem, heard the song of peace and goodwill, and went to find the baby in the manger. Maybe on a night like this, the three kings rode from the east with gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. On reaching the pine tree where he had waited before, North Star stopped. Nicholas dismounted, pulled up his furry collar, and stepped cautiously toward the house, carrying the bag of gold. How slippery the snow was. His boots crunched through it. Everyone must be sleeping, even the puppy. Once again the shutter was open, but this time not quite enough, and it seemed to be stuck. Nicholas tugged on it to open it more. It creaked as it finally gave way, and Nicholas dropped the gold, clinking to the floor. The puppy rushed to the window, barking. Nicholas dashed away, slipped, and plunged into a snowdrift. While he struggled to get out, people hurried through the house with lighted candles. He heard the shout, "Here's another dowry!" The front door burst open. Somebody cried, "There he is in the snowdrift! Catch him!" A tall young man ran out and pulled Nicholas from the drift. Nicholas tried hard to get away, but his boots were slippery, and the young man pulled him steadily toward the house. The yapping puppy slid down the steps, grabbed Nicholas's cloak, and tugged him along. Thaddeus hurried out and caught Nicholas's hand and drew him on. Everyone was laughing and exclaiming, "We've caught him, whoever he is!" Suddenly the moon flooded the hill with silver light. Nicholas tried to pull down his furry cap closer over his face so they wouldn't see it, but Anya came out too and clung to his cloak to pull him up the steps. In the doorway, Karita held a candle. When it shone on Nicholas's face, they all cried, "It's good, Father Nicholas!" "God bless you, good Nicholas, servant of God," said Thaddeus. "How can we ever thank you?" "Do not thank me," Nicholas answered as soon as he could get his breath. "If good fortune comes your way, thank God." The young man who had caught Nicholas led him to a chair inside. "You must be cold and tired," he said as he shook snow from Nicholas's cloak. Nicholas liked him, especially when he promised, "I shall do my best to make Karita happy. I would have married her without a dowry if I could have, but both her father and my father forbade it." Karita's father, happier than Nicholas could ever remember, thanked him again. "The way you can thank me," Nicholas said to Thaddeus, "is to promise not to tell who left the golden gifts." But Thaddeus would make no such promise. Instead, he said, "Maybe sometimes I shall hide gifts for the shepherds' children and let them think Father Nicholas brought them." "I shall help you," Karita's future husband exclaimed. "I will leave the presents for them at night and run away." Karita's eyes sparkled with an exciting idea, and she clapped her hands, saying, "After I am married, I shall bake sweet cakes often for poor children and pretend Father Nicholas sent them." "I'll help you," Anya said. "And when we write your sisters about your dowry, we will tell them how we plan to help good Nicholas give surprises to children. Perhaps they will want to do the same."